The Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, CACOL, has warned state governors that the federal government approval of 180 billion naira in palliative must not be siphoned. Tola Orasonyo, Director Administrator of Programs at CACOL, issued this warning in a statement on Saturday. It will be recalled that the National Economic Council okayed the disbursement of 180 billion naira as palliative to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy removal nationwide. In a reaction, the group urged that the fund be judiciously used for the well-being of the masses who were worst hit by the economic hardship. The group said the masses must feel the impact of the palliative in the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. Just as the group has come out to seek for proper use of the federal government palliative to states, others have also questioned the idea of the palliative that the federal government on Thursday announced. But announcing the release of the palliative at the end of the 135th National Executive Council meeting presided over by Vice President Kashif Shettima in Abuja, the Borno State Governor, Babagana Zulum, disclosed that the 5 billion naira was to enable the state government to procure 100,000 bags of rice, 40,000 bags of maize and fertilizer to cushion the effect of the food shortages across the country. But the big question on the big story for today is the palliative the best option to take by the federal government? Should the money rather not be spent on repairing of the refineries or others that should have a more futuristic gain for all Nigerians? And just like CACOL have said, what would and how should the palliative be distributed judiciously so that a group of persons do not hijack the palliative that is basically meant for those poor and enduring Nigerians? Well, this and more as it concerns that is what is centered on the big story for today. And we're talking about 180 billion palliative to state government and how it should be rather disbursed. And that's what we're having as a major discourse today. We're talking about the fuel subsidy removal and the 180 billion naira for palliative to the different states of the Federation and the FCT. Well, that's what we're having as a major discourse today on the big story. And indeed, you agree with me that it's quite timely, judging by the reactions already being expressed by many on account of it. But anyway, like I said, that's what we're having as a major discourse. And to help us talk about this is no other person but the National Public Secretary of the North and South Program Movement of Nigeria, Progressive Movement of Nigeria, and he's the chairman of the Integrity Group. And I'm talking of no other person but Ambassador Oke Idawene.
I'm not PhD Dr. Oke Idawene.
Oh, sorry. I'll put that there, Dr. Oke Idawene. But many persons will prefer the ambassador.
No problem.
You're welcome to it.
Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, Africans. Good morning to the world.
Well, anyway, as much as we've talked about that in my introduction, I want us to first, let's look at the palliative. That's 5 billion naira to each state. That is 180 billion in total. To enable the state government, like I said in my introduction, to procure 100,000 bags of rice, 40,000 bags of, well, maize and fertilizer to cushion the effect of the food shortages across the country. And not only that, they are also being given 180 trucks of rice also added to it. Now, many reaction has continued to trail that very plan by the federal government. While some are in total support of it, many others have strong reservation about it. So I'm really keen to get your reactions to this. Should this move be applauded by the federal government making this palliative, or you have strong reservation about this very move?
I vehemently underlined, vehemently oppose the rice distribution and the 5 billion naira per state palliative support to governors to distribute to us in our respective states. The reasons are: one, what is palliative? Palliative on the medical angle is used for ailments, patients that are having terminal ailments. That is either heart failure or cancerous, as the case may be.
But it wasn't
now, coming was the worst situation on health matters. coming back to economic meaning, it's the same thing. Trying to give a supportive care, supportive support to a problem that may want to go into extinction out of hardship and poverty. The question is, are we supposed to be talking about palliative in Nigeria as of now? Palliative comes when you were not prepared for the problem. When you are sick, you don't know you have cancer or heart failure. On the medical angle, it's understandable because these are natural phenomena. Now, on the economic angle, it is caused by poor policy, ill timing, and nonchalant attitudes of leaders, as we have today. Before President Ahmed Bola Tinubu came to power, there was nothing like palliative in Nigeria. Palliative came, or support came, during the health challenge.
The COVID time.
The COVID time. That is the natural phenomenon. But on the economic timing now, what we are experiencing now is going back to the woods. God forbid that you will now deliberately do a policy that you are not prepared for, not ready for. You didn't calculate it well. We're not saying the fuel subsidy should continue. What we needed was a well-coordinated control policy that at the time it comes out, the common man
will hardly
feel the impact. Rather, do policies that the bourgeoisie, the rich men, or the rich people in Nigeria can feel the pinch while the common man is breathing. Now you say let the poor breathe, becomes a mockery. So we're not supposed to be here in the first place. Now that we are here, I'm not applauding
that very move.
That very move. Because again, another reason is this, my career. How many data do the presidency have about Nigerians that are suffering, the downtrodden? How many state governors or government can boldly say that we have 7 million Delta, 7 million Edo people, or Kano as the case may be, and 3 million are suffering? They need support. Proper we are from our respective local places. You don't know where I come from in Isoko South. How many people do we have that are not eating from morning till evening? We have a poor data system, and now you want to give palliative to the people. I ask you this morning, what happened to the 500 billion naira given to the humanitarian minister of humanitarian in the time of President Buhari? I ask you this question. We were in COVID period when the Minister of Humanitarian Services or whatever was telling that she was feeding students with billions of naira in that period. The question is, what has happened to these people? Okay. So, talking about palliative now, how do you think that the money be, how do you give economic wise? What kind of policies are we talking about? What kind of presidency do we have that you want to give money to people? The simple thing we need is a policy, immediate policy to ameliorate this situation, whereby goods will be sold at cheaper rates.
Ambassador Darwin, we'll come to that and then look at, because it's also the reason we're having this discussion.
Honestly, they should cease this palliative thing.
Other means of dealing with it, but let's look at the palliative itself. Wait, let's come to what this palliative is and what it is designed to do. Just like you said. Now let's look at what it means and see if it will really go a long way in cushioning the effect of the subsidy removal to vulnerable Nigerians. Now you were talking Now you're talking about data. Now the National Bureau of Statistics have said we have over 132.
Excuse me, Makere. These things are not realistic.
But
I want to ask you where you come from. How many people are suffering? Can you tell me?
Okay, now I don't have that.
Okay, let me ask you that question. Have you seen the federal government policy helping a local person in your place?
Look, Ambassador Idawene, I'll plead with you to hold on. I'm the one asking the question. I'll plead with you to just bear with me and hold the anger. Now, the National Bureau of Statistics have over, like it said, we have over 133 million Nigerians that are multi-dimensional poor, so they said, And if we now take this, because this is where I want us to go. Let's reason it out.
I will
now,
challenge you this
if we
morning.
let's leave the data, but let's stick with what we have. Now, if we now look at what they are going to give, for example, if we calculate the 180 billion naira.
Before you go further, Bakari,
Yeah.
I challenge the government to publish, even in my family, those that are downtrodden, that will give money to every money to feed.
We'll talk about that later. But let's stick with this. Now, if you calculate the 180 billion, that means for the 133 million, multidimensional, as they said, each we get only 2,000 naira each. That's what it means.
Okay, compulsory sum.
And that's not just that. And if you now look at the 5 truck that is expected to go to each state, that means every person will be getting a cup of rice. So 2,000 naira and a cup of rice. So my question will be, will this move even help deal with the problem? That's the question.
The truth is this, like I told you,
Yeah.
these are just cosmetic, non-realistic, miraculous
Approach
to situations. All we need to do is not this palliative. Palliative, let me tell you what will happen. What I said this morning, not the advert already. What will happen is that this same money, this same rice, will go down the way of the COVID-19 era.
Palliative, okay.
Are you following me? So there's no need dishing out this money, not giving out this palliative, unless let the government just say that we want to help the governors of the states to help their people in any way they deem fit.
Okay.
Not making it compulsory that they want to share food and money to you and I.
So you mean
because
the 2,000 naira and the cup of rice
it's a short waste because in Ugeli here, where we live, in the community that I live in, Ugeli here, those that have not eaten this morning, that have no food this morning, are more than those that have food. If you check, when we wake up in the morning these days, our phones are filled with bills, A, B, C to Z. You ask yourself, where are we heading to? Now, the only thing we need to do is let the government go back
to the drawing board.
To the drawing board and never finish in Nigeria. Let the government go back to planning, I want to call it. And now I want to swear in the ministers. Let there be a think tank and let a solution come. Let food prices be reduced drastically. Let the money, like National Secretary of APC is telling you and I that they have saved. This is not party now. I'm going to make an example. Because I forget party now. We are all Nigerians. I'm not here for any political party. Now, you're saying that you have saved 2 trillion in the past 2 months.
Okay.
It's simple arithmetic now. You have saved 2 trillion in the past 2 months. Where are our farmers? Where are the rice suppliers? The staple food in Nigeria? Where are the garri makers? Where are those selling the food we eat every day? All you need to do is get a roundtable discussion. Look, we are supporting your production so that the price of goods and services will be reduced. It's a very simple matter. NURT, cause of movement. What do we do? Plan with them.
So are you saying rather than putting this money here, you should rather use this money to deal with the underlying
effect? Immediately that look, instead of sharing the money in economic situation, thank God I read economics. I read economics education. So I read both economics and how to teach economics. Now, how can you pump in too much money in where you have no manufacturing, where there's less production, pumping too much money? You have so much money pursuing fewer goods. That is what we call hyperinflation. For how long you going to kill this country? For crying out loud. I'm telling you the truth. Nothing. There will be a time that we want to cut the money into the pot to boil and eat the money. Okay, now still talking about that. Because a consuming economy is a dying economy.
I'm happy you raised the issue of food, because if we look at it, all of this is coming because of the increase of food.
Infrastructure.
Now, let me ask you, because we got a recent report. The the Nigerian News Agency came out just yesterday evening to say about 23 local governments in Nigeria are under bandit control, and they made mention of local government in Sokoto, Zamfara and Kebbi. They are all battling to survive, and the farmers, all the farmers there, have abandoned the farm. We're still talking about food price. Now, do you feel most of this money would rather be channeled into securing these farmers and going to farm? Because as much as we're saying this, also in Benue State, which is the food basket of the nation, they are constantly going through the issue of attacks by farmers. So if curbing, because you said the best way to do is curb the reason why the food scarcity and increase is there. So would dealing with the insecurity occasioned by all of these bandit attack and kidnappers and the rest, would that not be the best way to addressing this food insecurity?
No, I agree with you to an extent on that.
Okay.
Because we have so many farmers in Nigeria that are not having security challenges.
Okay.
All what they are crying for is that we need succor. There are shortage of grains to produce rice. The cost of transportation, there is no power to generate, there is no irrigation to do our things. These are the things we're talking about. So once you create that, this money to be channeled into creating an enabling environment for the farmers. Because, my brother, once federal government takes bag of rice, Nigerian made rice, so 10,000 naira now, the bad wagon effect, you will be shocked that every other thing will drop. The bag of rice I bought in my house last week is gone. Is it my children eating it? No. The people that are feeding on that one now, they are so enormous that even we that are saying that we are a little bit up there, these are very up there. They are not safe. A time will come where they will pull down our gates. If we don't change, I have not eaten government money. We are all private individuals trying to sustain ourselves one way or the other. Now, for the security challenge farmers, it beats my imagination that I take Quest Television or Quest Honeywell Honeywell Communications, that the general manager is not doing well. I apply and tell the chairman CEO that that will transform Quest Communications into a model, even my media's touch. Now, and I told you it is my turn, Emiloko, to lead Quest. Only for me to come into Quest after the man has given me permission to go, that I won the bid to lead Quest. I came in without a prepared team to hand over transmission, to hand over energy, to hand over the security of the place, to hand over marketing. That is the heart of Quest. Is that not wickedness to Quest? Is that not retrogressive to Quest? The former GM was managing it and we are doing well, reasonably well. Now, and I said, Emiloko, it is my turn. Let me come and help Quest. Only for me to come in. I have no team, that even as at the point, the last day for me to submit my team, I could even produce all the team, and I produced half, and I brought half later, just to beat the deadline. Oh God, how did we get here? How did we get here?
Ambassador Idanwene, I will plead with you to hold on. I know the energy and the anger that is there, but let me ask a question. Do you feel this money would have been better used to
before you go to money?
For the price?
Sorry, my brother. Before you go to money, please.
Yeah.
I was talking about the insecurity as at under President Tinubu, that I thought that Emilio come my turn. By now, I would have secured all the territory of Nigeria.
Well, anyway, you're talking about that, but let me do more of the asking of the question.
Please,
do you feel
don't be offended.
The 180 billion would have been also used to subsidize? Because we know many countries do. Americans do subsidize their food products. Do you feel it would have been helped? Because you made mention of if we can get the price of rice, a bag of rice, down to 10,000 naira, a lot of Nigerians. Do you feel, rather than putting these into state governors' hand, it should have been used to go into the market to help subsidize the prices of this food?
When you make state government, I don't want to set them up this morning.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, instead of sending the money away from the national purse, National Economic Council, I'm ashamed of the body, sorry to say, that they could bring such policy to bear, that we should go ahead on that. Now, that money in the first place should have been channeled into subsidizing, like I said. the cheapest condom in the world now remains Gold Circle.
We'll be charging you for advert.
Sorry about that. So I'm just giving an instance.
Yeah,
And over the years, even our youth corporate days, we were taught how World Health Organization subsidizes the production of that condom. Because it is effective. If you look at all these big names, it is still the most effective as far as I'm concerned. And it's the cheapest. Now, why don't they go and look at that design?
Okay.
Are you following my point?
Yeah.
How to subsidize a product constantly without making noise about it.
Okay.
Without doing fuel subsidy. Use that money from the fuel subsidy to subsidize food. That is a common thing in Nigeria. Electricity. Then good roads. Nigerians are not asking for much. If the Gari producers in Isoko, in Urobo, in Edo, whatever where they are, produce Gari from Ijebu. See, you and I can reach these people. They are not fairies. They are not spirits. This is Gari farming. We are pumping in this to sell Gari at 500 naira per basket. With rice and Gari, we'll be sleeping with our 2 eyes closed.
Anyway, I'll plead with you not to sleep or argue on this.
I agree with you that we should use money for subsidy.
Now, I'll plead with you to hold on. We need to go on the break now. But when we come back, we'll continue our discussion as we look at 180 billion naira palliative for states to help deal with the issue of cushion that very pain orchestrated with the removal of fuel subsidy. Is it the best way to go, or are there other better ways to deal with this issue? Let's go on the break.